Hey, this is Bill from VacLab, and today for you Miele fans, I've got a review and demonstration of my parents', I think it's a 2012 Miele Callisto, and the model number is S5281. Like I said, it's a number of years old, so it's not the newest thing out there. But this is what I got, and I think I have all the attachments. So you go for the top secret compartment. Got a little doodad here. Got kind of a furniture nozzle here. And a dusting brush with a really interesting way to angle it. This thing does all different kinds of angles. And one of the angles, it even ends up going out straight. So that's kind of cool. I like that. I think Dyson might even have that too. If I get all that back in there. And see here we've got the wand, and this extends and it clicks. This, though, is, to be honest with you, see, I'll be back in a second. Let me extend that. One hand is just too difficult. There we go. The problem is, this is a very heavy-duty unit. But that's the problem. It's a very heavy-duty unit. I mean, you could use this thing as some kind of lethal weapon because it's so incredibly well made. But it's so heavy. I notice that when I use it, and I'm holding it up with something on the end, and I go to try to vacuum something, say, up in the ceiling, I can only last a few minutes before my wrist starts hurting because this is just so heavy. And combine that with this handle right here, and I gotta be honest with you. Here, let me put it on so you can see what it looks like. Here, now it's connected. So I'm sitting there holding this thing, and I want to go up real high to the ceiling. So I'm kind of doing something, maybe I'm in a corner, whatever it is. But there is an immense amount of strain and pressure on the wrist. I mean, this weighs many, many pounds. I didn't weigh it or anything, but it's not something that I would want to use for that. And obviously this is electrified because it's meant to go to this power nozzle. And they may have another one that's lighter. But this is what I have here, and I just can't see somebody using this normally to go and do casual dusting. So next, we have the on-off switch here on the top of the handle. And it is nice, it swivels and whatnot, and it's very stylish. But this is very heavy. I don't know if I could really use this for, like, say, an hour, for example. It's actually very, very heavy. But the hose here, this is very light. So they have very, very heavy duty ends. You know, this one's electrified. But this is very light, and it's very easy to deal with. And it's not a big deal. It's easy to maneuver, it's easy to coil. But by the time you hook this thing up, and especially hook it to your wand, you've got some real weight here. As heavy as probably some lightweight vacuums. So we go over the power switch here. It looks like it's got 6 positions. And I think this is 1200 watts. At least that's what this is. And then this goes down from there. And it steps down and steps down. And you see some pictures in there. And I think all the way down at min ends up being 300 watts. And at 300 watts, it's very quiet. The power nozzle is a real chunk. When I think of Kirby, I think of heavy, very heavy, and very heavy duty. And even though this is plastic, it's a very, very heavy plastic. And it feels extremely heavy duty. I don't think it's as heavy duty as metal, per se. But this has handled 5 years of abuse, to be sure. And as you can see, the air path in here is completely, utterly open. So there can't be a line of shame. I mean, there might be more airflow here because it's a center feed than out here, out to the edges, out to either edge. But there's just nothing to block anything one way or another. And it seems to be a fairly decent chevron brush roll. It's plastic. And here's, let's see the ratings plate. It's fairly worn off. 1.65 amps. And this definitely has the appearance and feel of pretty heavy duty. When you go and adjust it though, one problem I've had is you keep pushing this thing and you see the numbers change. Well, more or less. It just doesn't seem to change very easily. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and it's supposed to go all the way up to 5, I think, and then it's supposed to go back down again. And it just doesn't seem to be very consistent with it. So I have it on a bed here. If I go and put it down on the floor, which is probably where you'd be using it, and I know this has some wear and tear on it. Yeah, see, I have just somewhat of a difficult time trying to get it to work. And maybe there's some damage in there. Because let's face it, this has definitely had some use. To me, it looks like this gap right here isn't in too good a shape. I can't believe that's supposed to squish like that. So, you Miele experts out there, since this is the only one I have, see, look at the difference. This is one side, and it just, it's a little squishy over here. There seems to be somewhat of a gap. And I come back over to this side, and the gap is much larger. And I have a funny feeling it's not really supposed to be that way. Here's where you can plug in your wand. There's your power, and there's your foot release. And then this is, I had a hard time understanding what this was. This apparently, when you have this in a locked position, this just helps you to, I guess, stand on this and release this from being in an upright position. Here's the well-loved, some people might say well-worn, rug nozzle. Looks like it's pretty good. This pattern right here, though, where you have a gap and then it contacts the floor, and then a gap, and then it contacts the floor. This kind of reminds me of a smaller rainbow nozzle, at least on my D4C. Seems to be very, very similar. And I'm going to guess when you put it down on bare floor, of course this is carpet, it's not bare floor, that I would imagine this would be very, very good on bare floor. Might actually be okay on carpet if you could manage, if you could muster the strength to push it. But this looks like a pretty decent bare floor tool. I like that. Alright, I have it plugged in now, and I'm going to turn it on minimum. And that is very, very quiet. I don't have any of my measuring tools with me here, so unfortunately I can't give you decibels or current ratings or airflow ratings or whatnot. But there's nice soft airflow right here. It's decent, and it's good for very light, delicate cleaning. Now here's where the fun begins, though. And here's the maximum. So that's definitely up there. Probably sounds the same, but bottom line is there was a lot. I was picking this up just a little bit off the bed with it on maximum. And I have I've got a brand new bag in here. And we'll go over the further inside where the bag is in a minute. I want to do this again. Very, very good suction. And I imagine also very good airflow. I would kind of guess maybe that something here is probably around 100 to maybe even 110, but I don't have any of my measuring tools, so I can't say what it's doing. But right here is something I definitely want to call your attention to. This is the exhaust right here. Now even on low, this is starting to put out warm air. When I take it and I turn it all the way up to 1200 watts, the air coming out of here is a lot. I mean, probably, if I had to guess, maybe 40 or 50 CFM. And it can actually blow your hair from several feet away, and on high, it gets very hot like a hairdryer. I don't know if this is gonna, I just thought of this here. I don't know if this is gonna blow this off of here or not. But here, this is on low. That's a lot of exhaust. Now I'm gonna turn this up and see what it does. So that can be somewhat of an issue, and I notice that when I'm vacuuming, what can happen is the air from here, as I'm taking my power nozzle and I kind of vacuum through it, ends up hitting me in the face, or hitting me, like say, with my shirt, and blows all over the place. So the funny thing is, most of the time it's pointing straight up. If you're going to be hauling the canister around, I suppose you can go and have it like this, but then it's not very movable because nothing's on the wheels. You see you've got 3 wheels down here that can rotate all over the place. Alright, so let's go over the inside. I just put a brand new bag in here because the previous bag in here was amazingly smelly. It was about 3/4 full. And you know, one thing I noticed about this, even though you've got the HEPA filter, you've got another small little fiber filter in here, and you've got another one right in here as well. When this is closed, and it's completely closed, even if the bag inside here is smelly, as long as you don't run the machine and you keep this completely closed, which it's not right now, you don't smell anything. Even though what might be in here could be just horribly toxic. I mean, we're talking like wet dog 1000 that's been around for, well, I don't know, like say several months. Even though this is popped open in here, for some reason, what's in here keeps the smell away. So it's kind of amazing. I'm talking about with the machine off. So see, you've got this other pre-motor filter here, and I just changed that, so it better be in good shape. You've got your HEPA filter here. This hasn't been changed in probably about a year, but as you can see, this looks just about perfect. And you've got another, I guess a post-motor filter right here, and I just changed that. So we'll put this back in. These are really expensive if you get the actual factory Miele ones. So many cases I recommend this for my father. It's his machine. They get the aftermarket ones, and they're about half price. And technically speaking, there is another black filter right in there. And it's what you see right here. And this doesn't seem to smell at all, and it doesn't seem to get any goo in it whatsoever, provided you don't abuse the machine. And guess what? I haven't found this needs any particular cleaning, but maybe there's an easy way to pop this off. I mean, I think there is. I think it involves these little gray tabs right down in there. See, right in there. You can pop those off. You can probably get to that little black filter in there. These bags are nice. I do like them. They're kind of small though. If you vacuum up a lot of dirt, you'll be going to the poorhouse buying bags. These things are just not meant for extremely dirty homes. Alright, so I have somewhat limited light here, and I'm going to plug this in and just do a general demonstration. And of course, I'm not the expert at plugging that in, so I haven't made it look real nice. And right here you have a full bag indicator. And you can really fill these bags up, by the way. 3/4 full, and this thing really isn't going orange at all. You can really fill them way up. I was kind of surprised with that. All right, I have all this hooked up. So we're going to crank it over to, oh, let's take it over to maximum. Why not? Let's see if I can figure this out here. Got to click in. Maybe. Oh, well, okay, it didn't work, so I'll give up on that one. There we go, got that off. And this still is, you know what, I turned it down a little bit and turn it back up. There we go. Very, very quiet. I don't know how well you can hear me over this, but this is definitely, this is one quiet machine, to be sure. That is one major wind down. Love listening to the wind down. Okay, one thing I noticed was right here, when I'm testing out the airflow and the suction with my hand, I noticed that what's here is much lower than what's here. And if you've followed any of my airflow box tests or anything else on VacLab, you know that what starts out here goes through this connection, however good it may be, all the way through the hose, through another connection and an angle here, through this joint, however solid it may be, comes out through here, goes through another connection here, through some kind of a U-joint here, and then finally goes through whatever seals before it spreads out here. You lose a lot of airflow. I might guess, and it's a total guess, I haven't put it on my airflow box, and I don't have any of my gauges here. It's entirely possible that by the time you get airflow out of here, even though you might start at 110, maybe even 115 here, by the time you go here, it is entirely possible you may only be at 85 or 90 CFM. And while that's good, and frankly that's better than I think any bagless system I've ever tested, it's not as good as direct air machines. But you don't have the downsides of a direct air machine. Well, for example, this one right here is very, very quiet. I mean, it's fully sealed in there. It's great. Even on a full 1200 watts, it just doesn't make that much noise. I'll have to measure it, maybe post some results, but this thing is very quiet at 1200 watts, and at 300 watts, its lowest setting, you could practically fall asleep listening to it. I mean, it's really, really quiet. And if you need a quiet machine, I definitely recommend this particular machine. It's really, really quiet. As a canister, it certainly gets top marks. I don't know how well it would necessarily do with heavy-duty deep cleaning, but other than having a very small bag, this is something that I certainly could recommend for canister fans. But again, if you're picking up an awful lot of dirt, you're going to be spending a lot of money on these bags. So it's somewhat of a cautionary note on this one. Anyway, here's my review of the Miele. I hope I'm saying that right. Miele, tomato, Callisto. And this one here is obviously in black and silver. So I really hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Bye-bye.